Today's trope is going to be rom bashing. Hi friends, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel, and today we are doing another one of our dramatic fanfiction recommendation. And the topic for today, like I have said before, is rom bashing. Now this is one of the tropes that I don't really actively go out there and look for because I love it both ways. I love when Ron is portrayed to be a good friend or a good ally to the relationship of Draco and Hermione, but at the same time I also love when story kind of portray him to be like a jerk who opposed to the idea of Draco and Hermione being together. And so I don't really go out there and look for rom bashing, but just over time that I have read Hermione, I have come across really great story that has element of rom bashing, which is the material that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. So stay tuned for that. Now I know that this is counterproductive, but if you guys ever want a list of story where Ron is portrayed to be a good friend and a good ally to Draco and Hermione, let me know and I'll get it done for you guys. But of course, for today, I'm going to give you guys a list of story where Ron was portrayed to be the antagonist to the relationship of Draco and Hermione. I'm going to break this video down into 3 levels today, and we're going to start with level 1. We're going to start with something mild. These are the stories where Ron cannot accept the relationship of Draco and Hermione early on, but as time goes on, he developed into a very good friend and a very good ally. And of course, we are going to start with Apple Pie is Another Man by Sweet A Peach. I have raved about this story so many times, and you guys know that I love this story very much. It has all the elements that I personally look for in a feel-good Hermione fanfiction. We have supportive Lucius and Narcissa. The relationship development between Draco and Hermione is so fluffy, but at the same time so realistic and so much tension. Draco definitely has sad boy syndrome in this story, but he is trying very hard. On the other hand, we have a Hermione who is super understanding, who is super mature, and who begs the best dessert in the wizarding war. I have said this before and I'm gonna say this again. This fix is going to make you feel like you are being wrapped in a cozy blanket on a winter morning. It feels so good that you don't ever want to leave it. If you don't want to do that fluff and you want some level of kick in the story, I would recommend Enemy with Benefit by Drusilla Maxima. This is a Enemy with Benefit story. You have already had an idea reading the title, but this is a hot fic. Usually I don't really do well with fic where there's so much heat going on and there's nothing else, but something about this story makes me feel some sort of way. I cannot explain it, but I love this story so much. There's something about the way that the author portrayed their romance in this story, even though it's kind of next to none. You kind of have to read between the lines and see the feelings that they have for each other, and maybe that's some kind of thing that I like to do with my fanfiction. But regardless, I think that this story is going to be perfect if you're looking for just a little bit of rom bashing element with a capital P. And next, I am going to give an honorable mentions to Sweetly Broken by Lady Kenzie 347. This is my favorite Draco's point of view story. It portrayed his journey to heal himself after such a tremendous event that is the war, and the happiness that you get in this story is so heartfelt. It's probably the most heartfelt happiness that I have ever read in any Hermione story ever, and it's make you feel so happy at the end for them both and that I want to cry. Maybe I'm reaching with the element of rom bashing in this story, but why do I put it in here? Because I want to recommend Sweetly Broken many more times. That's why. We're moving on to level 2 of this video, and we are going to have story where Ron cannot accept the relationship of Draco and Hermione at all, or the story ends before we get to that part. Either way, the relationship between Ron and Hermione soured in this story because she was being with Draco. First of all, I think you already know that I'm not gonna make a video on rom bashing without Simply Irresistible by Bookworm 1993. If we are only talking about trope, this is going to be my favorite rom bashing story ever because it's had all the things that I was looking for if I were to go out there and actively looking for a rom bashing story. This is a story where Draco's give Hermione an entire makeover to revenge Ron for cheating on her. Simply Irresistible is always recommended to be the best rom-com Hermione story ever, and you already know that it's not without any reason. I think when I first started this channel and coming up with my all-time favorite Hermione list, I put Simply Irresistible as my number 3 spot. You already know how powerful this story is. I don't know how many times I have reread this story. This story is very light, but it's not one-dimensional at all. It's so fluffy and so loving, but it's not cheesy. All the details in here are just crazy. I think I memorized so many of them, and we have an ensemble of supporting cast again, which which makes so great of a friend group that I once again feel like I'm breaking up with my friend when the story is over. And we're not going to talk about Teddy in this story at all. We're not going to talk about him, or I'm going to babble on and on and on and on forever. One of the feelings that I get after I read this story, I'm not sure if it's intentional by the author or not, but I feel like while Draco is trying very hard to give Hermione a better outer appearance, it's because of Hermione's inner self-love, inner happiness, and inner confidence that give her that glow booster. I feel like this is a must read when it comes to Hermione, because you cannot do better than this when it comes to rom-com, when it comes to a feel-good story. Next one we're going to do is a one-shot, but it's a humongous one-shot, so don't you worry. It's also one of my favorite of all time Hermione story ever, and that is Best Shots by Acciomania. This story is set in a year, once again one of my favorite trope ever. Hermione receives an unexpected visitor from the future, herself, coming back to a year, telling her that you have 3 days to change things or your husband Draco Malfoy will die in the future. Does that hook you? That hooked me immediately. If not for Acciomania, that statement alone already make me want to read this story. You already know when it comes to Hermione, I'm just such a sucker for their small touches, like the small detail that speaks so loudly of their love for each other. Best shot details are the one that come up first when I think about those details. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, just go ahead and read it. But it's a perfect read. I assure you, you will never regret reading anything by Acciomania, especially Best Shots. Next one, we have a tongue twister, Familiar Places, Worn-Out Faces by Lovebitka A. You guys probably already know Lovebitka A from the Right and Wrong series, and I want to say that this one-shot is so well recommended. It's probably like the most well-loved one-shot when it comes to Hermione. We have a Healer Draco's being in charge of memory loss aura Hermione. Draco is a man of man. He works in here. He doesn't say anything, but man does everything, and I just love it when he is observant and protective, period. But this one is just so beautifully written. It's so beautifully developed that I have just no words to describe it. I think that you just have to go and experience it for yourself. Next we have He Doesn't Love Me by I Am Past One, and usually I don't really love this type of story, but for some reason I fell so hard for this story. Such a simple story has such a great impact on me that I don't really understand why. I can't really explain. This is a marriage law story where Draco and Ron both petitioned for Hermione's hands, but she ended up choosing Draco, and so she kind of go through this lie with the Malfoy, and we have to see how it turns out in this story. And I'm just smitten with capital letters for this story that I cannot understand why. So I think you guys should just go ahead and read it. I think it's such a great read. But disclaimer, this story is on an older Harry Potter fanfiction website, so it has a little bit of a format error. So beware of that before you start. The next story is such a unique story, and that is In a Different Light by Pink Panda. Pink Panda is just a wizard when it comes to writing fanfiction. I think all of her story are so beautifully written that I don't understand why I get to read this for free. And you guys know that English is not this author's first language. That blows my mind. In this story, we get to see how Hermione falls out of love with Ron through Ron's eyes. And I think it's such a unique story because we don't get to see Hermione from another person's point of view often. And in this story, the author did a really good job portraying Draco, Hermione, and Ron through his own eyes. And on the same note, I do have a collection of Hermione stories that are told from a different character's point of view. So if you guys are interested in that, comment down below for me and I'll get it done for you guys as well. Next we have Minimal Risk by Galfoy, and you guys already know Galfoy is my favorite author when it comes to Hermione. In this story we have the two idiots, Draco and Hermione, interact with each other once a year on New Year's Eve for 3 years. Every time that I finish reading a fanfic, I add it to my collection with a little bit of kind of like a comment or an opinion so that I can remember the fic later on. And this is what I have put for Minimal Risk. This is one of the stories where Draco and Hermione both are portrayed very maturely, so the element of rum bashing in here is not childish at all. It's very realistic, very understandable, very mature. Everyone is an adult in here. We handle business adultly. I cannot say it enough. You guys have to go and read Minimal Risk and any other work that Galfoy do. She's my favorite Hermione author for a reason. Last one in this level 2 category, we have More Than One Way to Win by Scully Murphy. This is a Hogwarts 8-year story when they both have kind of like an agenda on their own, but they work together toward a goal. Draco was there to take Hermione to the bar, and on the other hand, Hermione wanted to make Ron jealous. But they're not going to fall in love with each other in the process of being their partner in crime. They are just so mature, so content, so understanding in here that I have no complaint at all. And the details in here also make me go crazy. You guys already know that I'm a sucker for that. She wears Draco's jersey in this story. That's it. That's all you need to know. Please go ahead and read it. And lastly, we are going to do our third level, level 3. These are a story where Ron is just an evil person. He is non-redeemable in any kind of way. These stories are going to be dark with capital letters. So if you guys don't like this story, please go ahead and exit out my video. You guys already have enough material from my previous recommendations. It goes on for a day on Ron bashing. But if you guys have the stomach for this story, then you can stay and find out what those are. The first one is Out of Darkness by Dirty Cave Painter, and I want to tell you guys that this is probably one of the darkest and the most haunting dramione story that I have ever read. Here's the synopsis for you guys. 3 years after the war, Hermione is a broken woman. Draco is a healer with an exclusive private practice that specializes in women. Draco has fought off his darkness while Hermione is struggling with her own. Will they succumb to the darkness that threatens to bowl them both in, or will they fight the light in the darkness? The story is probably like the most graphic that I have ever read when it comes to dramione, so please be aware of all of that before you start. But it also portrays such a realistic healing process, a development between two broken souls mending each other, that I kind of fell in love with this story. It's not something that I want to go back and read again because of how dark it is. It's kind of, you know, scare me forever. But if you have the stomach for a dark story, I feel like this is going to be a very unique and a very perfect read for you. The next one, we have something a little bit lighter, a little bit less graphic, but nonetheless he's non-redeemable, and that is The Token by Mezzy. Even though this story is a little bit less dark, less haunting, less graphic, I was just so scared throughout the whole process. I was on my toes the whole time. I was just so anxious for the both Draco and Hermione is in here. The things that I love about this story, first is that it has such a unique premise. You want to find out what happened between them in the past that make Hermione's wanting Draco's help in the end. And I think secondly, the author has given them a very realistic and mature development in this story. I feel like they both have some kind of things to work on in this story, some kind of demons in the past that they need to get over. I appreciate that the author has given them and their love time to blossom. It's not rushed into thing or anything like that. And that's the end of my Ron bashing collection. Like always, please let me know what you guys think about the story that I shared with you today, and of course share with me any story that you haven't seen here that you think is a great Ron bashing story for me and your fellow reader. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. I don't think that I got time for shit when no one's hitting on my line. I've been waiting for this all day. Homie said that he gon' slide.